Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Host Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. Regional travel can be eased if regional leaders follow through on current initiative. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Friday, 5th August 2022. Details when we return.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Welcome back. Caribbean leaders have been mapping out a plan to ease air transport woes for the region to bring it back to pre-COVID levels. More in this Barbados Today news item with Sandy Dean.
On Tuesday, officials from the Caribbean Development Bank chaired a meeting attended by the leaders of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, a representative from Barbados, and Guyanese President Irfan Ali. Grenada's Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell reported on the outcome of the meeting at a post-cabinet news conference today.
It was agreed that we would retain a consultant to provide advice to the heads of the region as to how we can address the critical need to have particularly air transportation resume at a level that existed prior to COVID-19. There are some outstanding issues between the bank and the government, such as our country engagement strategy that we need to sign off on. We are in the process of reviewing that, and we hope that we can do so shortly.
A prominent Pan-Africanist does not support calls to take the push for reparations off the table. Dr. Derek Murray, director of the Center for Hybrid Studies, shared his views on the topic on the sidelines of the Spicetown Emancipation Walk, part of events to mark the season of emancipation in Barbados. Lisa Brome of CBC has more.
The effort to get reparations for the atrocities of the slave trade has intensified over the last few years. But some have argued there is no need for colonizing countries to repay the debts owed to Black people. Well, Dr. Murray, who is the director of the Center for Hybrid Studies, says shelving the discussion is one's acceptance of slavery and the slave trade.
If we do that, then we say to humanity that it is okay to enslave people, keep them as property, sell their children. That is okay as long as in the end you stop at some point, you keep all the gains that you had, that you got, and you don't pay, you're not punished, you don't apologize, and you don't repay.
Dr. Murray says those critical of the time it is taking for the reparations to be repaid should understand it will be a long process.
We should be prepared, however, that if it takes 300 years, the same time it took to take what belonged to us, and to rape our children, our wives, kill husbands, and work them to death. If it takes 300 years for us to reclaim that, if it means that we have to become powerful enough that when we ask for what was taken from us, people have no choice but to give it to us, then we are prepared to wait for that.
Dr. Murray is a former director of the Pan-African Commission, and he was speaking to the media on the sidelines of the walk, which snaked through neighborhoods in and around Spicetown. The walk was organized by the St. Peter Parish Independence Committee, along with the Spicetown Task Force and other entities, to acknowledge and honor Barbadians who fought for the freedoms that are enjoyed today. It ended at the historic Fisherman's Pub, where an audience gathered for a ceremony. In an address, MP for St. Peter and Labour Minister Colin Jordan said the story of the island's freedom fighters has to be passed down to the younger generations.
We live in a different time, and we can have our freedoms and our rights taken from us in different ways. And so emancipation says to all of us that we must continue to be vigilant. We must continue, like Coffee and Tony, right up to Bussa and Nanny Greg, to say to those who would oppress that we can respond. We are able to respond because we continue to remember the struggle of those who have gone before us.
Just before reaching Fisherman's Pub, the walk stopped at the Shrine of Coffee, where Minister Jordan, as well as the 2022 parish ambassadors and others, laid wreaths.
Wednesday, July 27th, marked 2 years since the passing of former Prime Minister of Barbados, Professor the Right Honourable Owen Arthur.
It was 2 years ago that Barbados got the news its longest-serving Prime Minister had died. Professor the Right Honourable Owen Seymour Arthur passed away at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. Professor Arthur has been celebrated for his outstanding service to Barbados, having led the country from 1994 to 2008. And one must also recognize his stewardship as the parliamentary representative for St. Peter from 1984 until 2018. But it is his personal life on which we reflect tonight, as told by the man who regarded the former Prime Minister as another brother, George Griffith. He told CBC News he and Professor Arthur have been friends since 1974, when they were student and tutor at the UWI's Mona campus. Mr. Griffith, a fellow Barbados Labour Party member and a former chairman of the Childcare Board, said the two have shared many life experiences, some tragic, which have caused their families to be inextricably linked. He says, however, one of his fondest memories of Professor Arthur was his dedication to helping students while at the Mona campus, a small indication of his commitment to preparing the next generation of Caribbean leaders.
He had this knack of recognizing persons who were struggling and persons who needed that extra help, and he provided it to Barbadians and all of those who were on campus throughout the 70s, and I would imagine beyond, can attest to the fact that he went beyond the call of duty, not only for Barbadians, but other Caribbean nationals who were students at the university at the time would always speak about how down to earth he was and how willing he was to give assistance even when he did not have to do it.
In November 2018, Mr. Arthur was conferred with the title of Professor of Practice, Economics of Development by the University of the West Indies, CAFO campus. He also holds the Order of Jose Marti of Cuba. Lisa Broom, CBC News.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
The shooting death of an 18-year-old St. Lucian man in Martinique has left a New Village family devastated. Jason Darius of the DBS News World reports.
Police are investigating the circumstances surrounding the shooting death of St. Lucian-born Martinique resident 18-year-old Jahim Degayard. Video footage of the event, which occurred a few days ago, shows Degayard in an apparent scuffle involving several individuals, with Degayard seemingly walking away from the incident, only to be pursued by an assailant wielding a firearm. Degayard received a single gunshot wound to the back. Family and loved ones here in St. Lucia have been mourning the loss. However, the victim's mother says she is yet to come to terms with the incident.
My daughter came home crying and told me that my son is dead. They shoot him. That's the only thing. And after, I'm hearing from people, I'm seeing videos that he got shot. And the video that I saw was some fellas trying to prevent the fella from shooting him. And he still got escaped from the people and gave him a shot in the back, and he fell on the ground, and that was it.
Degayard's mother reveals that the teen had been in Martinique for several years, even attending secondary school in the French Isle. She says she wouldn't have expected his life to end in such a way, despite her son's stubbornness.
The only thing I can say about my son, even if he was hard-headed, but he was a loving boy. He would do anything that you ask him to do. Even if he will tell you, Mommy, not now, or my friend, but later on, he will do it. The only thing I can say about him, he's just hard-headed, but he was such a loving boy. And the way he died there, I wouldn't expect him to die like that. I did not want him to die so young, unlike that. Even if we have to expect death, I wasn't prepared for that one at all. And all now, so I'm still not prepared.
The family remains sorrowful while awaiting further information from the police. The victim's mother says she is trying to remain strong for the rest of her family during this time.
Up to now, we're still crying. When I got your phone call, I just try and hold the tears. Right now there, I'm really shaking, and I just don't want to let the tears down. If I let it down, it will get me down more. I want to stand strong for when the day of the funeral comes up. What I miss most about Jaime is when I have to shout, Jaime! Jaime, where you? Jaime, come and do that for me. Jaime, come home. That's the things I miss about him. Because I always calling on him.
Jaime Degayard would have celebrated his 19th birthday this August. For the DBS News World, I am Jason Darius.
There is growing concern in the Bahamas of the high incidence of suicides since the pandemic. More in this Eyewitness News report.
There's been an increase in suicide since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. This according to clinical psychologist and president of the Bahamas Psychological Association, Dr. Wendy Fernander. The admission coming on the heels of 2 alleged suicides over the last few days here in the capital,
which would have put us in the Bahamas to about 38% an increase in suicide. That says to us that this is worrisome, that attention needs to be paid to this issue in our country.
And if you suspect one of your loved ones is contemplating taking their own life, Dr. Fernander pointed to these characteristics.
Someone who initially was very outgoing and gregarious and mingling in society, and they suddenly become very withdrawn, or someone who may be depressed. So also someone who suddenly begins to seemingly lack interest, and they give away their things. So if they had something that they cherish, they start giving those things away. These are some of the things that indicate to us that this person may be contemplating suicide.
In the meantime, the Bahamian Foreign Affairs Minister made a statement on visa program in response to a comment made by a Haitian official.
In related news, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is responding to recent comments on the visa program, dismissing the implication that there is prejudice against a specific nationality when it comes to properly entering the Bahamas. This on the heels of comments Haitian Chargé d'Affaires to the Bahamas Anthony Pierre Brutus made during Friday's press briefing at the office of the Prime Minister. When asked what could be done to discourage Haitian nationals from illegal migration to the Bahamas, Brutus charged that the only way was to grant visas. In a brief release, the ministry stressed that there is no legal obstacle to any nationality applying for a visa to enter the Bahamas or obtaining a work permit to enter the country legitimately. In fact, it said any foreigner planning to enter the Bahamas legitimately may apply for a visa through the consular division, where that visa is required by the regulations, all the country's embassies and consulates.
Conveniently located in the Grand Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am, but didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Granans will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know. Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep.
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
I am Eddie Frederick, wishing you a restful weekend. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.